Hi, I'm Howard Cadenhead, principal at Folsom High School. I'd like to welcome the class of 2025, and in this particular case, the parents of the class of 2025 to Folsom High School. Typically, we have our students and our parents in person for our Link Crew Day, where our students are with their older junior and senior mentors and learn about the school, find their classes, receive their schedule, connect with each other, listen to a speaker, etc., and get a lot of this information directly. And then what we typically do is bring the parents into the theater, and sometimes we'll have 400 and 500 parents. But in our current situation, we're going to do this through video, so I want to make sure that you all get information that hopefully will be useful to you as you get ready to navigate Folsom High School and enjoy your 4 years with us in the Bulldog family here. So let me start by introducing some of our administration and our staff. In our assistant principal's office here in our building, Donna Thompson is our clerk for our assistant principals. Mrs. Cranston is our new assistant principal, replacing Miss Sisson, who took a principal position at El Dorado High School. So congratulations to her. Miss Cranston fills in and picks up last names A through D. Mrs. Morales is E through K, Mr. Eklund L through P, and Mr. Crannell with Q through Z, and I support all alphabet across the board. Okay, our counseling staff is consistent this year. Miss Brown has A through C, Mr. Allergen D through HE, Miss Deathridge has HF through MD, Miss Vaughn ME through R, and Miss Estrada is S through Z. And our counseling center clerk is Miss Cedarstrom, and our registrar is Miss Law. And our registrar's job essentially is to make sure all students obviously are registered and moved on to the counselor so that they can enroll them in the appropriate classes, but also to manage all transcripts for all of our students across the board and make sure everything that we need for students getting ready for college is taken care of. Okay. Our Bulldog staff outside of that, Crystal Woodruff is our general fund account clerk in our accounting office, which is kind of on the west end of the admin building with the windows outside. Student accounts is there as well. Miss Eichner takes care of all the student accounts, which means dance tickets and athletic tickets and yearbook sales and anything that is student money related or student fund related. Our student government income all goes through that office. Okay. Attendance is also adjacent to them down in the west end of our building, and that it is Miss Egan who runs the attendance office and in attendance and health office. Miss Daniels supports both. That's Miss Lee, Patty Lee, our registered nurse in the health office, and Miss Egan in the attendance office. Our administrative clerk, receptionist at the front desk, who many of you will see when you come in our front door, is Miss Gibson. All right. Student Activities Director at Folsom High School, Mr. Castro and Mr. Mills split those duties. Our Athletic Director is Miss Finley, and our Assistant Athletic Director is Mr. Peterson, also a football coach on campus. So I want to talk a little bit about our Bulldog Nation FHS culture here at the high school. Most of you know that Folsom High School is a larger high school, and there are some real advantages to being a larger high school. But one of the neat things that we've been able to preserve at Folsom High School is that we have a really safe, emotionally and physically safe campus. Students report annually on the California Healthy Kids Survey that they feel overwhelmingly safe on our campus and comfortable on our campus. I realize that it takes a little bit of time when you're coming from the smaller middle schools to feel comfortable, but it doesn't take long. It's a pretty easygoing, pretty laid-back, supportive place, and we see our freshmen really fit in really quickly here when they come in. It is very inclusive. We have activities across the board, again, with a ton of really quality activities that support all students of all abilities, all backgrounds, all interests. We often say at Folsom High School, if you don't find something you're passionate about at Folsom High School, you're not trying. We have tons of opportunities, which you'll see coming up. And across the board, we have high expectations. We want to make sure that students have every opportunity to succeed at Folsom High School, all students. We have high expectations for their learning, their performance, their enjoyment, our culture, etc., which I think is something that is really, really important for us to maintain. And examples of excellence abound. Again, I'll talk about the outstanding background and achievements of many of our programs here in a few minutes. So academically, as many of you know, we have an incredible art program that is everything from digital art to performing arts, music, drama, drawing and painting, our ceramics program. But in April, which is one of my absolute favorite events here on Folsom High School's campus, we have an art show that's incredible with sometimes over a couple thousand pieces of art, that is produced by our students just over the course of the single school year. Our career and technical education, which I'll talk more about, is outstanding here. And it's typically our extracurriculars that get the most attention, just because that's the way things seem to work in the newspaper and in social media. But our athletics obviously are outstanding. But many people don't know that we have clubs that number into the 40s, and just a huge diverse range of student-led, teacher-supported clubs. And we really encourage our students to charter their own club if they don't find one that really meets their interests or they have something they're passionate about. There's a ton of community service clubs, and there's a lot of community service that goes on with our students as well. A few new pieces at Folsom High School, not exactly brand new, but they haven't been around for more than a few years, is AP Capstone program, which includes AP Seminar and AP Research actually now. That should be on there. So 2 AP classes, Seminar and Research, that are really sort of student-led, student project designed, a lot of research-based, inquiry-based type programs that are outstanding and really accessible to students across the board because they drive their learning a lot in those courses. Product Innovation Design Manufacturing, which is in our brand new CTE building down on the west end of the school that many of you probably saw being built. We opened that last year. It includes the manufacturing classes, which you can kind of see a picture here in the bottom right. It includes engineering and a physics building so that we can incorporate our physics and science learning cross-curricularly and make sure that we have space to build projects that support students. It's really a fabulous building with state-of-the-art technology in 3 distinct labs. We have a metals lab, a wood lab, and then a manufacturing lab, which is our picture here in the bottom right. And we hope that, kids leave us through those programs with really distinct marketable skills for careers or college, if they so choose. We have a 3D printer lab as well down there, and just an incredible number of tools, and our students will be able to work hands-on and apply their learning in that setting. For the first year, in-person year, this coming year, we're going to be one-to-one Chromebooks for all students. So all students will be checking out a Chromebook, and likely they'll be hanging on to those Chromebooks until they graduate. And so they want to take care of those things. And I'm not sure that the procedures at the end of each year, whether we'll be collecting and checking and repairing those potentially, but they want to make sure that they take care of those. They're going to bring those every single day to school charged, put those in their backpack, and hopefully, and this being our first go round with it, we'll be able to limit a little bit more of the other textbooks that they bring back and forth by having those Chromebooks, which hopefully will make things a little lighter on them, not heavier, and we'll be talking about that in the future. We also have an 8:30 start time, which is new to Folsom High School. Coming from middle school, that's not a big shift for you folks, but we traditionally had started at 8 o'clock, but shifting to 8:30 aligns us with the state law, which mandates that in 22-23 that all high schools start no earlier than 8:30, and it actually aligns with our work with Stanford University's Challenge Success program, where we're really looking at sleep, and you'll hear us talk a lot about this, and our students will hear us talk a lot about the importance of sleep and taking care of themselves, and the general sleep cycles for our adolescents, which tends to be staying up a little bit later, and then trying to get those 9 hours of sleep that's recommended for adolescents. I know we don't do it all the time, but that is what's recommended, and we talk to our students a lot about getting as much sleep and consistent sleep as they can. So hopefully that alignment with the 8:30 start time, it actually will be a 3:33 End time for our 6th period. So our 0 period now starts at 7:30 rather than 7 o'clock, which actually sounds a lot more palatable for some reason. 7 o'clock start time is pretty darn early at times of the year. It's pretty dark outside, and so we're hoping that this is much more student friendly, gives more students an opportunity in the next 4 years when your students are here to take a 0 period class if they so choose as well. And then they can actually get out closer to 2:30 in the afternoon. I think that in the future, probably many of our athletes will look at that as an option as well, especially our spring sport athletes and winter sport athletes, so that they don't have to miss class. Okay, so we also last year started our Diversity and Culture Student Council. Just to make sure that we are reflective about our culture and make sure that we're supportive of all students of all backgrounds. And we meet at least monthly to really kind of talk about sometimes current events, but events on campus, look at a variety of different issues that affect all students. And again, just make sure we reflect on our culture at Folsom High School to see, where we're being successful with supporting all students and where we may need to improve, and then work on that together with our students to move in the right direction. Okay. In terms of PAWS stands for Positive Achievement with Support. It is our advisory class, and every student's 3rd period teacher is his or her PAWS teacher. On Wednesday, Thursday, which are block days typically, we will not start with block days in the first week this week, but we will start them the second week. Those are our PAWS days, and PAWS is 1 hour long in the middle of the day. So on Wednesday, we go 1st period, then PAWS, and then 3rd and 5th, because we're odd days on Wednesdays. And Thursday block day, we would go 2nd period, PAWS, 4th period, and then 6th period, because we're even. So during PAWS, it is self-directed academic time until students prove otherwise. So students really have the flexibility to use that time as they see fit. Again, aligned with our work with Stanford University and the importance of student control and student choice. And giving them a little bit of time where we're not directing every minute of their day. And we allow them to do that until they prove otherwise. If they're struggling to use their time wisely, we will intervene at some point. We'll stamp their PAWS port. Teachers will, requiring them to come back to them to get support if they're not completing homework, not completing work. They need help and they're not coming to get it. But one of the things that you'll be able to do is look at their PAWS port, which is their a planner, academic planner, and there is a system in there for stamps. You'll be able to see where they are going as a parent to get help in PAWS, okay? Because they will have sign-in, sign-outs for where they went. So if you're ever wondering if they're getting help in the right class that they're struggling in, you can always check their PAWS port, as teachers will do that as well. Students get to travel to different classes, so they'll check in every morning of PAWS and advisory with their assigned 3rd period teacher. But then if they want to choose to travel to another class, they get to travel to that other teacher, and they get it signed by the other teacher that they're traveling. Okay, they actually can travel to 2 places. If they prearrange that 2nd place, they can travel to 2 different classes. Let's say they have a short quiz in one place, a short quiz in another place. They can go to 2 different classes during that hour. All right, and we'll give them more details in detail about our PAWS program and how to navigate that program. We're going to spend quite a bit of time on it the first few days. We do have a little bit of a delay in the planner this year due to COVID. It seems like COVID supply chains are struggling all throughout our communities, and right now we're looking at maybe a 2-week delay on receiving our PAWS ports. But once we get those, it'll probably be around the 3rd week of school, then we'll start our travel, and students will be able to use their planner. Also in that PAWS port and that planner is all of our school rules and procedures, contact information, resources. It's an important thing to take a look at. Parents sign off on that annually in their InfoSnap registration, but students have it in their hands at all times, and we make that available on our website as well, so you're familiar with all those things. So tips in general for families. First, this is really important. Arrive early the first few weeks. The last thing that you want or your student wants is to be rushed getting to school the first few weeks. Traffic can be a little bit challenging. So typically one of the things, and our students will tell you this a lot, and other families will tell you this a lot, it's nice often to drop students off across the street Sometimes families will drop students off in Safeway and students will walk. Sometimes they go to Starbucks and then walk to school. Sometimes they'll drop them off on Grover here across from our administration building off of Iron Point Road. But if you're going to navigate the parking lots here at Folsom High School in the morning and you want to drop off right on the front doorstep, then you want to make sure that you get here early or you're going to be frustrated, because it's not super easy to get in and out of these parking lots quickly when you're close to the start of school time. Also, make sure that you wait to buy specific school supplies until students go to classes. We don't want you guys to buy things that you aren't necessarily going to need. And students often think that they need specific binders, or they buy all these general binders and notepads and all this sort of thing. And as we get more specific in our courses, teachers will be a little bit more specific about what students need, the type of paper, the type of supplies. So I recommend waiting, have your kids meet with their teachers and gather exactly what they will need, and then they'll communicate that to you. It also shifts a little bit as we go one-to-one Chromebook. So students will constantly have access to their Chromebooks and be able to, take notes on Google Notes. And, we'll be talking about things like Cornell Notes, for students in different settings and study skills and digital tools that we have for them. And that sometimes will take the place of some of the traditional, supplies that we would buy. So hang in there a couple of weeks and you'll have time to get what you need. If you're communicating with teachers or administrators in general, I think the easiest way to get us is email. Teachers often check it at the end of or during the end of the day or during their prep period. And it's just a little harder, obviously, to get back or get a phone call into the classroom and leave a voicemail, etc. So emailing is a great way to communicate. We do ask that we all allow a 2-work-day response time agreement. That means basically if you email on Monday, you should expect a reply by the end of the day Wednesday. Many of us get, 100, 150 emails a day, and we work through it, but there are days where we have meetings that take us to the beginning and end of each day, and so we end up really kind of getting the following day caught up. So we need a little bit of flexibility on that, but we are committed across the board to making sure that we get back to you in a time that works for you. If it's really urgent, just give us a call in the office and we will get information out to somebody if it's an urgent piece. Teach and expect students to communicate with FHF's Folsom High School staff and self-advocate for themselves. This is really important for us. It's something that we have really talked about the last couple of years, and our students have been incredible at taking this on. This isn't because we don't want to talk to parents at all. We enjoy meeting with parents and talking to parents, and we value the partnership that we have. But what we want when our students leave their high school career is for them to be comfortable talking to adults, communicating with adults in a multiple ways. So if they can learn to use email, if they can learn to speak to us in person, if they can advocate for themselves when necessary, they'll be interacting at Folsom High School with their teachers, the campus monitors, their counselors frequently, Miss Gibson at the front desk, Miss Egan in attendance. At this point in time, it really, the vast majority of them are very capable of having those conversations, and it's incredibly important to us at Folsom High School that we treat students with respect at all times. And so you're not going to get a different response from administrators, teachers, counselors to students than you would to parents. If a student has an ask or has a concern, we take that absolutely just as serious as we would receiving an email from a parent. So we're actually going to teach our students very explicitly how to write an email, how to ask for an action item, sign the email, create an appropriate salutation, include their student ID so that we can look them up if we need to get some background on their schedule or contact information or whatever. We'll teach them those skills. And what we really need is them to be able to use it. So what I tell parents all the time, allow your student to reach out to us. Allow them to make that contact and monitor and make sure that they get a response within that 48 hours. If they don't get the response that they deserve, then jump in and support them. okay, because they absolutely deserve that response. And we need to make sure that we address their issues in earnest. But otherwise, allowing them to advocate and communicate for themselves, super important no matter what they do after high school. They're going to go off to college, and you're not going to be communicating with their professors, their coaches, their employers. Many of them will be getting jobs starting their junior year of high school. They need to be able to speak to their supervisors and communicate with them as well. So really important skills for us to teach our kids as they head off. And in our work with Stanford's Challenge Success, many of them have told us, many universities have told us that the reasons that students come back home and struggle in that environment in the university, especially living in the dorm, etc., is because they don't have those soft skills to be successful. It's going to sound a little bit silly, but they can't do their own laundry. They don't know how to go to the bank and work through something, deposit a check. They don't know how to go have a conversation with somebody in the admissions office, make appointments, do those things because it's been done for them. So it's really important that we start teaching those skills and setting those expectations so that they can be successful wherever they go after that, after high school. If you have academic concerns, start with the teacher. Athletic concerns, start with the coaches. And then behavioral concerns, start with the teachers or vice principals. We have laid out, if you have concerns, there's sort of a process for addressing concerns that's laid out in the handbook as well. Students, again, have that in their planner, and it's online. And you signed off on it through InfoSnap when you went through that process. I know it's a ton of information, but those are things that we want to make sure that we get every opportunity to address any concerns that you have. But we also want to do it at the place where they have the most information about it. Academic concerns, obviously, the teachers with the student. Every day they have class. I am not. The assistant principals are not. You are not. And so starting with the student and the teacher who are present every day to work through any concerns is critical. Same with coaches and athletes. Same with the folks who might have been involved in a behavioral incident if there's something that we're addressing. So we really want, it's not, again, that we don't want to address it with other folks. We've got to get the information that we need, and that begins with the folks who are present. And so know the academic intervention strategies as well listed in the pause board and on our website. We have a ton of supports at Folsom High School for students. And that includes, academic support, social emotional support, and different types of academic support. So we have sort of a flow chart, a matrix. If students are struggling in one class, struggling in multiple classes, if students may, we feel like we may have a learning disability that we want to address, etc., some sort of access that we need. There's a whole flow chart that's in the Pausport and the handbook and the website to use there. And if you can't find that, get in touch with the counselor and we'll make sure we walk you through it. But we want to make sure that we get on top of that early and we use the resources that we have at hand. Okay. And a big part of that is using the pause period, the advisory period, effectively on that Wednesday and Thursday. So talking to your students about how they use their pause time is really critical. If they're struggling academically in a class, and our teachers do this all the time, they will say, you need to come see me on Wednesday or Thursday during your pause time. You need to come in if you're struggling. If you rate yourself as a 2 on this skill or a 3 on this skill, you need to come see me Thursday during pause. And if students aren't doing that and following up, that's the first step, really, is getting help directly from the teacher, not looking to others, parents, or tutors to help when we don't avail ourselves of the opportunities that teachers are putting in front of us. So it's really important to make sure that we're using pause time effectively as well. The one policy that you probably want to review, and it's a very simple policy, is our dress code policy. So you get a chance both on the website and the student handbook. It's pretty simple. I will tell you that the two biggest issues that we tend to address is shirts not meeting shorts, so bare midriff, which is addressed in our dress code policy, and then shorts that are too short, typically on our female students. But the way that we address dress code issues at Folsom High School is we ask them to change. We do let you know after, I think it's the second time, that there's a dress code violation, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to lose academic time because we have a dress code violation. So we have clothes. They certainly are not, they're Folsom High School clothes. They're t-shirts and sweats and shorts and whatnot. So they're kind of Folsom High School swag, and we will ask students to change quickly into that and then get back to class if they have a violation, and we'll note the violation. But we certainly don't want to take students out of class for long at all to be addressing issues like those. The other policy that's really important to understand is the academic dishonesty policy, because it is a complex issue, academic dishonesty. It can cover anything from cheating on a test. It could cover from copying somebody else's work and homework, plagiarism, etc. But there's a whole gamut of examples that we could talk about in the academic dishonesty policy. And it is something that the first time we're really kind of trying to let students know that's absolutely not okay. And there's an academic, consequence. Typically, a student will get a 0 on an assignment that they cheat on. And there's a whole system kind of letting you know through the teacher, and talking and counseling the student, making sure that they're aware of what's going on, that they clearly understand the policy. But this is, again, one of those policies that we want them to be absolutely clear on when they leave high school, because the consequences at the college level are way more, way more challenging. We don't want our students to move on to the university level or the community college level and have an academic dishonesty, because they can actually be removed from the university, and it certainly can affect important references that they need to receive for employment at that level. So they need to learn those lessons now. It's important to review it. Both parents and students will be talking about it with them as well. And all general policies that we have are listed in the Pausport. If you have any questions sort of about the minutia, certainly check that, and then give us a call if you have any questions, or email us and let us know what we can do for you. We have a Bulldog Bulletin newsletter that comes out every other week, and this is really a great main source of information for parents and students. We are now sending this to students who have their direct email, and that is another new item that we have now. I can reach out. Counselors can reach out, administrators can reach out directly to students, teachers can communicate directly to students who have a Folsom Cordova Unified School District Gmail account, and it's a guarded account, so it's a fenced account. They can't email out and in to the system, so somebody outside FCUSD cannot email our students, but within FCUSD it is monitored, safe, and we can get them information. So I will often forward information from, let's say it's job opportunities, or it's SAT information, college information. I will often email information directly to our student. But in our Bulldog Bulletin, we have student celebrations. We welcome new staff so that you know who the new faces are on campus. We'll be doing that in the next month. We have a lot of new faces on campus this year, which is kind of exciting. We give college and career presentation information, SAT, PSAT, tons of stuff. Any policy shifts, celebrating our academic award winners. Again, important dates for you folks. If you want to come to the art show celebrations, tons of different information within that bulletin, and you can always opt out at the bottom of any of those bulletins, okay? But I would absolutely take a moment and sign up for our Bulldog Bulletin, and it will be delivered to you every other week, all right? And then finally, some more specific advice for students and for parents. And a few years ago in our Link Crew activities, we asked our juniors and seniors to kind of do a top 20 pieces of advice for new students, incoming freshmen specifically. And these are the things that they shared. Get involved. The way that we get connected with others and that we feel like our school or our work and anything that we do in life that we're connected to and we care about and we're passionate about, it's because we make connections. And so whether that's through clubs, athletics, community service, dances, so many different things going on. And I give the example all the time, our students love the dog pack at football games or basketball games, but our dog packs at football games can be 500 kids. and we have a DJ, and it's just a fun atmosphere, and our kids are really well behaved, but they have a great time supporting our football team. But really, it's not about football. That dog pack activity is about them connecting with each other. It's about them coming together to celebrate something as Folsom High School. So it's not about dancing when we go to dances sometimes. It's really just about connecting with other people, having fun, conversation. That connectedness is so important, but getting involved, if you can encourage your students to get involved in some way, and we're going to work our hardest to make sure that we also make them feel welcomed and to encourage them to get involved in so many ways. We'll have lunchtime activities, all kinds of different things going on. They've got to ask questions, ask for help. If they don't, that's one of the fastest ways to get behind. That goes right back to that pause period and using that wisely, going to see teachers, asking for help. That's why that period's there. Balance, grades, and fun. Balance is our word. You're going to hear us talk about that a lot. In fact, our new vision statement for Folsom High School is balance in pursuit of excellence. That is our vision statement at Folsom High School, balance in pursuit of excellence. Those are the two big things that we really want to push, is that expectation of excellence, but doing it while we're balanced so that we're healthy, so that we're mentally healthy, so that we're happy, right? So if we can be happy in our job, if we can be happy in our school, if we can be happy with each other and feel good about ourselves and others while we achieve, that's critically important, because achieving excellence and being miserable, it's not a lot of fun sometimes. And so it's pretty cool that our kids recognize this some time ago, that balance is incredibly important. It is. Communicate and be friendly with each other. Obviously, that will invite those relationships we talked about. 2 study buddies per class. So finding somebody that you connect with in each class, that maybe you exchange cell phone numbers or emails, and that if you miss something or somebody has a question, they can connect. I know a lot of kids do that now over FaceTime and other ways. We can use Microsoft Teams and Zoom and all the things that we built the skills on for last year. Kids can still connect with each other those ways, to work through homework together or to study together and do a lot of different things if they're not in person together. Push your comfort zone. Try something that you wouldn't normally try, which is really fun. It's one of the best parts of my job, is to watch students who try something and really becomes a passion of theirs over their 4 years with us, and seeing that growth. Go to dances, enjoy food, fun, friends, befriend our staff. Our teachers are really student friendly. They love being around kids. They'll be outside at lunch. Sometimes we eat out on the lawn together with students, and students, fortunately for us, enjoy hanging out with some of us, or at least they pretend like they do. I think it's kind of nice for them to go out of their way. I always tell them, the first couple of days, there's 2,600 of you, but if you introduce yourself to me, it's so much easier for me to know you guys. So students will come up and introduce themselves to me all the time. But that's really important, I think, for us to start getting comfortable with each other and building those relationships. This is easily said for all of us, but it's tough to do. Don't procrastinate. Get your sleep, which you will hear us talk about sleep all the time. 9 hours of sleep for adolescents. Our teenagers on our initial survey that we did, that really set our work in talking about the importance of sleep, indicated that they were getting 6.25 hours of sleep a night. So they were not getting nearly enough sleep, and you could see that in mental health issues, anxiety, depression, just general physical illnesses, obviously fatigue, but it also manifests in struggling academically when students aren't sleeping. Their recall is poor. Again, it's just really important that they get a consistent amount of sleep. And I will talk to them repeatedly. At some point, you have to put the books away. You got to put the phone away. You got to stop eating or drinking caffeine after 2 p.m. You've got to get into a routine. You've got to get your activity, physical activity, so that you're fatigued and you can get to sleep and get that routine. Our students who do a good job of that, that's a life skill. That's something that they need to carry into there. And you guys know this. Adults know this. Parents know this. Many of us remember when our guys were little. I have 3 kids who graduated from Folsom High School, and my twins just graduated last year. When they were little and we had very little sleep, it was, it's almost a haze sometimes. So, we want to make sure our kids have that skill of balance and sleep, and they understand the importance of it. Our athletes recover faster. It's incredibly important for all groups on our campus to get their sleep, including the adults. Watch traffic. So our students cross the street quite often, and we've been really fortunate to have a safe situation, but just be careful, especially in our parking lots, our student parking lot, just being careful and knowing what's around you. The kids said don't get picked up in the parking lot because it can be a little frustrating. And I think most of our kids realize that walking across the street makes our life a lot less stressful and a little easier sometimes. Don't compare yourself to others, which again, that's nice to say. And I many times our students learn to do that over their 4 years. They learn to be individuals. They learn to value themselves and others for how unique they are. But saying it and doing it is a challenge. We hope that our kids grow into that in their 4 years with us because we value them as individuals and their uniqueness. Make friends from the period before. I'll tell you real quick what that means. That means if I have math third period and somebody, math 2 third period, and I know somebody in the same math 2 class in second period, the kids always like to know what's coming. So a lot of times they'll connect with somebody in an earlier period just to see, was there a quiz? What did you do? Just a little heads up. So that's kind of what the kids mean. Eat, obviously important, along with sleep and the other things that we talk about, good breakfast, healthy, that sort of thing. Advice for parents, encourage your students again to get involved. We talked a lot about this. We will have our homecoming parade this year again on Sutter Street. What a cool event. Just taking your kids down there, even if they weren't directly involved in building the floats, but we had thousands of people. It was probably a few thousand people a few years back before COVID, when we did our Sutter Street homecoming parade, and people eating on balconies and out in front of restaurants and getting ice cream and just watching the homecoming parade, which is really fun. Again, not so much about just football or the floats, but just being together and celebrating something and enjoying it. Make sure that you encourage your students to pay attention to the daily bulletin, which we would like to share through email as well now. But it's one of the things that I know is frustrating for me as a parent. When my kids were here, I would say, how did you not know about this? And I know that they weren't always watching the daily bulletin, which we produce, the video bulletin, but we will do our best to share that directly with them, but they've got to pay attention. Again, if we give them the control and it's their responsibility to really dial into their opportunities, and we guide them through that, but they're the ones in control, they should be the ones listening to the bulletin, making sure that they know when things are coming, okay, and what opportunities are in front of them. Set expectations and maintain relationships. So this is critical for parents at this level at high school and as you proceed through high school. It's really important, I think, in talking to thousands of parents over the years, this is my 27th year in education, that what we do is set our expectations behaviorally and academically as a family, whatever aligns with our values and expectations. And we address that at times, but we also value our relationship with our students. And there are some things that we do, sometimes subconsciously or subtly, that send a different message. And so, for example, when we set expectations around grades, we might say on Mondays, I'm going to check with you Monday night, and we're going to look at your grades and your assignments together and see how you're doing. But we're going to do that on Monday nights. We're not going to do that on Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, and 7 days a week, because then it becomes stressful for everybody involved. The student feels stress at all times. We have students sometimes who will take a test in second period. They'll get a text from their parent third period because the grades went in, and they're asking why they didn't do well on the test. There's a stress level created by that that's harmful for students, because all of a sudden now she's not thinking about her next class, which she should be fully engaged in. She's upset because she knows she's going to be in trouble when she goes home, and she's navigating a text message conversation with her parent when she shouldn't be doing that during class or between class. So those are important boundaries, I think, that as adults that we can set. We have expectations. We should be clear about our expectations. We should set those expectations. It shouldn't be a 7-day-a-week, multiple times a day conversation, because then that harms our relationship with our child. And we should be a parent most of the time, not a teacher. And so we will do that on our end as well. Ask specific questions. So if you talk to your student about their day, it's always nice to say, to ask them, hey, anything funny happened today, or tell me something you learned today. But just, how was school? You're going to get a fine. You don't get a whole lot out of them sometimes, especially some of our boys at this age. Be intentional about how you speak about schools, teachers, coaches, etc. The best example I can give about this is, and let me put it in general terms, the way we talk to people, the way we talk about people, absolutely shapes the experience of our children. So how we speak about things, whether that's about school or whatever it is, they're listening, even if you think they're not listening. So if we're incredibly critical about teachers, coaches, other parents, etc., they're picking up on that, and they can't help but have that affect their view of their experience. This is their experience. They need to formulate their experience. They need to come to some conclusions about their friends, their teachers, their school, their coaches, their administrators, based upon their experiences. It should be their experiences. So for us, I think it's really important as parents, as administrators, as teachers. Let's flip this over. We would not, as parents, be okay with teachers speaking negatively about parents. It absolutely wouldn't be okay. And we all know that. But for some reason, sometimes we get caught up thinking it's okay to speak negatively about coaches or teachers. But we wouldn't want a teacher negatively affecting our child's view of us as parents. We flip that over, the same is exactly true. So we just want to be mindful about the way we speak to each other and in front of each other, and especially in front of our kids. We know, I think, as teachers, administrators, that that's an incredibly important responsibility, and we just ask parents to share that with us. So other advice for parents: make sure your student practices good sleep habits. We talked about this. Love to have 9. 8 would, 8 is the minimum for all these reasons that we talked about. Again, some advice for parents for helping support this: removing electronics from the room, especially phones. One of the things I've shared in the past may not work for everybody, but it's what I did. Was I had 3 kids all in high school at the same time, and I had 3 baskets in my room. I had 3 chargers, 1 in each basket, and so before a certain time at night, they had to come in and plug their phone in my wife in my room, and turn it off, by the way, so we didn't have to hear about it, and it was their responsibility to do it before that time at night. And in the morning, they could come pick it up when they woke up and take it to school. If they didn't turn it in by that time, and I wasn't out reminding them all the time, then they didn't get to take it with them the next day. Important to get athletic or physical activity in the afternoons. That can help with getting to sleep. Again, finding the routine, avoiding caffeine after 2. So bedtime routines are really, really important, especially during the week. I know we would love to see that carried into the weekend, but I know that doesn't happen. It doesn't even happen for me sometimes. My nights get a little later sometimes due to some of our basketball games, football games, different things I supervise. So it's challenging on the weekend, but trying to find that routine during the week at least. I know that this is hard sometimes, but studying outside the bedroom and just sort of training our brain to believe that, listen, we go in there to sleep. It's really hard for kids. But it's also nice for us if students will study in a quiet spot outside their bedroom. We can see that happen as well. They can put the books down, leave them outside the room, go into their bedroom, get ready for bed. Create hard limits on studying again. There are times, and kids need to be really more proficient on this. When I say create hard limits, I'm really talking about students creating them for themselves, knowing that at this time of night, I'm going to close it up and I'm going to go to bed. And the other thing I think is really important for our families, we talked about this a couple times over the past few years, and I think it's really important in this moment, post-COVID, post-pandemic, or not post-pandemic, but hopefully post soon, but post-distance learning, that we redefine success for our families. And what I mean by that is, if I ask you what you think it means for your student to be successful, and then I ask her, am I going to get the same information? Is that will that be defined by faith, by family, by personal happiness, by wealth, by career, by what is it? And nobody's here to tell you what that is and tell our students what that is. But I can tell you from our experience that when we ask students, they tend to think that success is monetary. That success is money, right? And they say they don't necessarily align with that, but that's what they think everybody else thinks, that it's about having stuff, right? And so whatever it is, just making sure that you and your students' success, definition of success for them aligns. And it's just something to talk about. Ask questions about their day. Again, as we said before, don't ask them what they received on their test. How did your day go? Tell me something funny, etc. Limit the times when you discuss academics, as we discussed before. They need a break. A quick story that I like to share, that when, most of us as parents right now, when we were younger in school, we actually had to wait for our report cards to get mailed home. And if you didn't do well, you were dreading that day when it might show up in the mailbox. But these days, it's so much harder for kids because some parents they're setting alerts on their phone. They're immediately getting it, alerts anytime a student's test score goes in, and then they're reaching out to their child. If you're all about test scores, that is what your child is going to worry about, and they're going to worry about it 24/7 if that's how we're talking to them. Again, expect students to communicate with adults and self-advocate in an age-appropriate way. We know they're going to get better at it as they move through high school. But little small steps along the way, I just tell parents all the time, have her email me and let me navigate the conversation with you copied on it. And then I think as we get to a place where they're a little bit older, more confident that's, we're going to treat them the right way, we're going to honor them in our responses, and we're going to be responsive in general in time to them, that our parents typically allow our, sophomores, juniors, seniors really to navigate the conversations, and then just check in with them, make sure everything's going okay. So I know that's a lot of information, and it would be great to be in person in our theater doing this again, hopefully soon. But I want to make sure that you get what you need, and that your start to the year at Folsom High School and your 4-year career is a good one. And please let us know if you need anything, and we're happy to answer questions. We want it to go well for you, and we look forward to seeing your students here very, very soon. All right, thank you very much.